I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
All right, Kyle, we got breaking news to start the show. Some rare, random breaking news. Do we call them Shams bombs? Or is the bomb just reserved for like the Woj Hall of Fame plaque?
I think it was like Shams grenades. Woj
Shams
bombs.
grenades.
We were calling them more missiles whenever Dane has a good nugget. So, good Shams grenade here. A couple minutes before we press record.
Yeah, Shams says, so the Wolves are going to convert. This is the no-brainer of all no-brainers, because when you're on a two-way contract, you have like your limitations and how often you can be activated and whatever. So the Wolves are going to convert Jaylen Clark to a fully guaranteed full-time NBA contract, a 2-year contract for the minimum, by the way. This is hit on your second-round picks, kids who want to be NBA pobos and GMs. So that's part one. But then part two is Tim Connolly is bringing in his old first-round pick from Denver back in, 2021? Bones Hyland on the now open two-way contract to provide the Wolves, I don't know, maybe he's bounced around now. He was with the Clippers after departing the Nuggets via trade, right? But he was actually a major spark early in his career and has just like not gotten, he's 24, 25 years old, a little bit of a microwave offense guy when he's playing at his best. But so Bones Hyland coming in to help fill out some depth, and Jaylen Clark on a full-time NBA contract.
Yeah, the big news is obviously the Jaylen Clark thing. I don't know if I have this correctly, but I think it also opens him up to play in the playoffs, because I don't think you can have two-way guys like active for the playoffs. So now Jaylen Clark is obviously playoff eligible. As Dane kind of reported, it's a minimum contract for this year and then next year, and then I think he'll become an unrestricted free agent.
Okay.
Which, again, I think a lot of people were looking at this to be like one of those Gupta specials where you sign a guy like Naz Reid, who we should talk about, for like 4 years at a cheap thing just to give them guaranteed money. I think Jaylen Clark, and I said this before, and ironically I learned this playing craps with Jaylen, but he's a really smart kid who I imagine has good representation and wants to bet on himself. And I would imagine he's like, hey, I don't want to be locked up long-term to minimum deals. I want to continue to, play my butt off, but also 26 summer, try to get paid. So also too, man, just coming off an Achilles tear, like I know science has gotten a lot better and medical stuff, but I always still kind of associate when you tear your Achilles to like, oh, that's a be all end all. And KD obviously is like the highlight of showing that that's not it. But Jaylen Clark, man, is the best defensive player in college basketball. A lot of the draft people like Tyler Metcalf and stuff have said if he wouldn't have been hurt, he would have been way higher in that draft. I mean, maybe like a fringe lottery guy. So for him to figure it out and then give them instant impact, I mean, that OKC game is the most recent, but they just don't win a lot of these games or have some of the competitive performances they have without another wing player who kind of debuted in Phoenix a couple weeks ago. And to your larger point, it's so imperative that this franchise that is not all in but has a lot of chips in the middle hits on these really kind of fringe guys. I mean, some of the most exciting players on the team right now are, Jaden McDaniels, who obviously pre-Rudy Gobert, but you drafted 28th in a trade with the Lakers, or like a Terrence Shannon Jr. drafted late 20s, Jaylen Clark. Really good stuff. The Bones Hyland thing, I just hope I have friends in my life like Tim Connolly, who just constantly goes out of his way to do things for his guys. So I doubt Bones Hyland will see a minute of action, and if he does, probably bad news for Rob Dillingham, but cool story.
I can't stump for just finding. There's just one game to put Bones and the smallest guard combo in the NBA. Just get those guys on the court for one throwaway game before the end of the regular season.
I mean, the Bones Hyland thing is if you can't figure out how to play winning basketball with Nikola Jokic, it's probably not going to happen. But it's exciting. They'll give him a test run, a little more guard depth for a team that still has a lot of guys coming back. But exciting moment. But happy for Jaylen Clark because he's a really good kid and he's played a imperative role on this thing the last couple of weeks. So
I'm going to ask you an existential Wolves question here in a moment. I do want to shout out before we get too far into the podcast here, our friends at Brickworth, just down the street from Target Center. Brickworth has become just an awesome place to gather for pregame before a Wolves home game, or even for away games. They got the games on a bunch of TVs. Detroit-style pizza, some of the best, most creative dry rub wings in the Twin Cities, and the signature Naz Reid Hazy IPA. Yes, Naz Reid, friends with our friends at Brickworth. So, stop by before a game. It's walking distance. You might even find just like better, cheaper parking options, especially when it's super nice out. It looks like kind of a fake spring here when they do come back home from this road trip. So check them out in the North Loop. It's Brickworth, and they also have the OG location in Burnsville too. If you're down in the South Metro. So existential Wolves question for you, Kyle. What did that win against Oklahoma City back to back? The third time you've played. It's like a series in the middle of the season. It's the third time you've played them in like a week and a half. You're down a bunch of key starters, so it is the young guys. You're trailing late. What did that win signify for you for this organization?
I mean, it just kind of backed up a take that I've had that some people will think is stupid, and maybe, but I keep telling you, I told you in October after the trade, I told Dane a couple weeks ago that this is just one of the, now there's a difference here, Phil. I think this is one of the 3 or 4 most talented rosters in the Western Conference, just top to bottom. I'm not saying they're one of the 3 or 4 best teams. They've clearly shown, as we've used the term paper mache floor, that they can just lose to the Wizards, or they can just lose to the Bucks without Giannis and Dame. But without Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert and Dante DiVincenzo, and with Ant on the bench, I mean, they ran a lineup to pull that thing out with Nikhil and Jaden, and then 3 guys who are all rookies. I mean, Jaylen Clark is not a rookie by draft status, but he kind of is in terms of he took a gap year himself to recover from that Achilles. So to be able to just, I mean, I was joking with you before we hit record, but go look at who the 8th, 9th, and 10th guys were on the Wolves a decade ago. It was like Justin Hamilton, Adrian Payne, Lorenzo Brown, like guys like that. Like the Wolves just have so many better players now. I think it does reflect a little bit of their toughness. I think as Finch has had ups and definitely downs this year, you go watch that game and he just subs Ant out who was kind of dragging his leg and stuff. And then you talk to the guys now that they're in LA for a couple of days. I was talking to Horton last night. Like it was a galvanizing win that made them think, rightfully or wrongfully, that team actually does believe that they can beat any team in the West. And They have, I mean, this is maybe hyperbolic and siloed vision because we cover the Wolves, but I don't know of a team in the Western Conference right now that is facing a bigger question mark than the Timberwolves with the guys they're trying to acclimate bringing back. I think you're going to see Dante or Julius, or maybe both, Thursday night against the Lakers. How do those guys fit in now when Jaylen Clark deserves to play and Terrence Shannon Jr. is like this crazy, all of a sudden, small ball 4, and Rob looked really good and is trying a lot harder on defense. So, and it also to just big picture, because it's been a really toxic year and the trade still upsets a lot of people, and I get all that, but those are the moments, because I found myself Monday too texting a couple people like, man, are we going to watch this again, Phil? They just, lost at home. They both have to fly across the country, which, by the way, is one of the dumbest scheduling quirks of all time. But they're like 14-point underdogs. Like, are you going to watch this? Yeah. I think unless you have kids, that's a whole different story. But like, if you got time, you got to watch this stuff because that's the type of game that you kind of just wait years to see. Like, that was one of the best basketball games, and it's one win, and the Thunder can write it off and be like, whatever. I don't know, man. Like, go back and watch those last 5 minutes of the fourth. They were down 14 points with 4 minutes left and beat the best team in the West. Yeah. So I think it gives the young guys confidence. It puts pressure on the coaching staff. Man, like Chris Finch, I still think he's going to start Julius Randle when he's healthy, but I don't know how you do that. They have a lot of confidence right now, and I do think they are fearless. And will that be good or bad? That is now the existential question for the last 20 games.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a bunch of different circumstances that led to basically the fourth quarter of that third OKC game in a week and a half looking like it did. Namely, the injuries to some key veteran players that free up the playing time for Terrence Shannon Jr. to be out there as a force driving that comeback, grabbing 10 rebounds, by the way, too. I mean, that's just like him literally being a force of energy on a back-to-back. That's something, too, that we talked about early in the year. And I don't know, like, I'm just an idiot sitting on my couch who, like, played on the B team in 8th grade with a T-shirt under his jersey. Like I don't know more than Chris Finch, but like one of the things I was yelling at Chris Finch through the TV for the first half of the season was, especially on these back-to-backs or a road trip where you're on the 4th game or 5th game in the regular season, sometimes just literally injecting 20 minutes of a young dude who's trying to prove himself is the difference in a game. And like that was the end of the OKC game, is not only did you have a couple guys, 2 or 3 guys who are trying to show that they belong in an NBA rotation with or without Julius Randle, like just period, they belong in an NBA rotation. But you also saw Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid, and you've seen this for a few weeks now, being put in a position where no one else has come. There's no Karl Anthony Towns coming in here to take the high usage rate. Anthony Edwards, for now, is on the bench with a calf and is just watching. Julius Randle isn't initiating. It is you guys. To me, that game against Oklahoma City was a glimpse into what the next 5 years could look like. You're trying to answer these questions about if the guys on the bottom end are rotation players, are they good enough? Are they NBA players? And then for Naz and Jaden, one guy already making $25 million, another guy you're pondering whether you should pay 30, 35, I don't know, $40 million to. If a game is in your hands against a quality opponent, can you get to the free throw line? Can you get the shots you want? And I don't know, like maybe I might just be completely overinflating one game on a weird travel schedule back to back, but we have learned so much about young key players that should be a part of this thing for the next 3 to 5 years. And it's been a blast to watch. I know it was a drag early in the year for people, and a lot of people still aren't over the trade. But like that was a glimpse into the hope that fans and the organization could have for the next 5+ years.
Yeah, and I'll never know for sure, like the chicken or egg, because I was saying after that Blazers back-to-back that they had out here where they lost both games, I think that was like in November, Dane and I kind of got into it, and I was like, I think the young guys should be given a chance. And then I heard from people with the team, it's like, how do you know that they were ready? Like, and that's valid. Like, maybe they're actually playing well now because they were allowed to marinate and get practice reps and stuff. But I don't know still if I like totally buy into that. I still think the best, and I want to talk about leadership for a second, but I still think the best way to get real reps is to be on the court and not off of it. I still think the best way to learn how to play the quarterback position is to play it and not watch with an iPad. And I think for leadership, talking about Jaden, like I think Mike Conley is probably maybe the biggest leader on this team in terms of just his veteran savvy and the way he relates to guys. But I don't think he can lead very well if he's playing poorly and on the bench. And I thought a big thing for Jaden was, who is very quiet and is one of the worst corner shooters in the league right now.
Yeah.
If you go back and like listen to the post game stuff and like the stuff in the locker room and what came out the next morning, Jaden McDaniels for one night, Phil, was at the top of our leadership power rankings. Like the stuff he was telling to Terrence and to Rob and huddles. And it's like, wait, Jaden McDaniels was doing that? He has never been on our top 5 for leadership. So just to have a game like that, again, if you're the Thunder, you can just write that off on your taxes as that'll never happen again. But it was a good reminder for us to take these games seriously. But if you're the Wolves, I think you can really point to, we have a lot of guys that deserve to play. And while most of them are still going to probably get politically kind of demoted short term, it should put pressure even on a guy like Dante, who I think you and I both love and was kind of the prize of the Karl Anthony Towns trade so far. Whereas if guys don't contribute as soon as they get back or they stumble, they don't play the right way, like if Julius sticks on the ball too much, Naz, you're in, right? Or like if Dante's not playing defense well enough, which would be surprising, but it's like, okay, Jaylen, you're in. So I think it puts pressure on the older guys to perform at a really high level, and they don't have as long of a runway to kind of figure it out when they get acclimated back. So, and then just big picture, going back to like, you kind of wait years for stuff like that. We do like sports media talk, you and I sometimes, like why these packages or why the NBA rights are worth what they are. You can go watch a lot of cool stuff about that game Tuesday morning on TikTok and on YouTube and on SportsCenter. There is still no better feeling than being in the moment watching a sporting event live, whether it be on TV or in the arena. And that was just a lot of fun. And that's kind of like, that's what this should be, right? Like I do, spoiler alert to like the 6 people that don't get this, like I want them to win every game. So when they win games, you and I are like sending out the tweets and having fun with it. And when they lose, it's kind of like when I lose in pickup. It's just like shake hands, get offline, go do something else. That was the most fun game. The Nuggets game was still probably their best win. They outmuscled them. They said, we still have your number. But this was, that would have been a fun comeback, 25 points against the Wizards, right? And you would have been like, God damn, like how did they, thank God they beat that team. But they did it against the best team in the West, who everyone right now is kind of anointing as like the NBA Finals representative.
Yeah.
So to do it on the road, second night of a back-to-back, to kind of in a 3-game series before and after the All-Star break, be like, hey, we're here. I think that's a pretty big statement that you now have to build off of. It doesn't actually get you anywhere. You're still 7th in the West this morning. But now you can build off that because after this Lakers game on Thursday, I think they have the second easiest schedule in the league for the rest of the year. Yeah. That's not good for how this team mentally prepares, but build off this. Keep stacking, like Finch says. Stack, stack, stack.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another existential future-facing question here, all right? Because, dude, I know people accuse me of riding the roller coaster, but I'll tell you, I have been on. I was telling you this off the microphone. It bothered me how much people immediately thought Tim Connolly was a buffoon for the trade. It's like, no, this not that he's like never wrong, but you guys, like there is a vision here, and it doesn't necessarily involve Julius Randle. And that's why it was so befuddling that there was so much, like he was the second highest usage percentage player on the team throughout the first 50 games. But like the vision, you got to look beyond that, look through the trees, and there is a vision beyond this. And part of that vision, I think, even though it took forever to get there, was what happens when you give Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels more space to fill? More space to fill with offense, with touching the basketball, maybe running design plays for these guys. And so I have a 2-part existential Wolves question. Part 1 is, do you believe in these recent versions of Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid? And so with Jaden, I'll define it as since January 1st, so a 2-month sample here, he's averaging 15 points a game, 7 rebounds, which is almost double his career high or career rate going into the season. Couple assists, 50% shooting from the floor, so super efficient, even though he's not a great 3-point shooter, and the obvious all-world defense, can guard anyone on the perimeter that needs to be guarded. Since the Julius injury, so the last 3 weeks, Jaden, 19 points a game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, also just under 50% from the field, culminating in a 27-point performance against the Thunder where he did not shoot 1 3 the whole night, and I freaking love that. And then Naz Reid, as a starter since the Julius injury, so the month of February, 22 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.5 stocks, steals plus blocks, and 46% from the field. So part 1 is, do you believe that when given this amount of space and, hey, dude, it's no one's stopping you, it's you guys, do you believe that those players are there long-term given the space?
The only reason you wouldn't believe it is because you don't want it to be true. And you have, for whatever reason, not got over heartbreak of previous favorite Minnesota sports teams, and you're just like, I won't fall in love again until I see the parade down Hennepin. That's the only reason. There is no other reason. There is no small sample size. It's not like Jaden McDaniels was like a G leaguer until January 1st, 2025. Like, he was all defense. He also might just never, I'm coming around on this, like he might actually never be a good 3-point shooter, even though this is a Kirk Goldsberry thing for the Ringer, but he talks about how guys that shoot well from the free throw line and like have good mid-range percentages translate to being good 3-point shooters. Yeah. So to me, it's like a tweak. I mean, if you watch Jaden shoot corner threes, it's almost like a shot put. Like he always ends like leaning forward. So maybe there's like a mechanic thing, but he's doing stuff like every single night with all the bigs, without all the bigs, playing center, playing the small forward, where he's just getting these rebounds. Like the rebounding thing isn't February or January. It's basically been 11, 12 weeks. Like that's just a change to how he's being used and his confidence. So again, I just ask, like, why wouldn't you believe it? And then the Naz Reid thing. I mean, Naz Reid is going to make over $100 million on his next contract. And he was, his words, a fat kid out of LSU. Like he might. You did it last week, and you're like, he might be the best undrafted player in the NBA history.
All due respect to Connie Hawkins.
Yeah, sorry to Connie. It's incredible. And for the Carl trade stuff, you and I see it the same but differently than others. If they don't sign Naz Reid this summer, if Naz Reid were to walk and go somewhere else, like the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, then in retrospect goes down as the worst trade this franchise has made since the Garnett trade. Because we keep talking about how it allowed them to have the financial means to pay Naz. If for some reason Naz squeaks through the cracks and leaves, now you're without Carl and Naz. And people should be blamed. I don't think that's going to happen. But you look at this trio, and I know people didn't always love this trio versus the Wiggins, Levine, and Cat trio, but this trio's done something. They've had other guys around them and other vets and maybe a better roster, but how wouldn't you, and this ties into my Luka stuff we did about a month ago and when that trade happened, I just kind of want to see it. I don't know if this big three of Jaden, Naz, and Ant is actually good enough to do something. Why wouldn't you want to see it now? Why wouldn't you want to see these guys continue to grow together? They're saying publicly, yeah, we're besties. We love working out together. Why wouldn't you just want to buy in and see how long that could go rather than the cutting corners of let's trade for KD? Right? Let's just invest in everything with this trio. Maybe Dante is a fourth part of that trio, quadruple, whatever. It's just really exciting, and I have no reason to believe now that this is not the new version of themselves. And the only thing that's going to bring Jaden down or hurt Naz is if you put roadblocks in front of him. It's if you have Jaden continue to be a 3 again rather than his more natural now 4 or 5. It's if you have Naz play 21 minutes a night when he deserves 34. That's why I said after the break, the most important person with ownership settled in this organization now is Chris Finch, because I think the pressure's on him to pull the levers. He pulled the right levers in the final 4.5 minutes of that Thunder game. He has to figure out, if everyone's healthy tomorrow night in LA, how is he going to allocate minutes? Because there are a bunch of young guys on this team that are long-term pieces that can't just be put back in the box.
I wish I would have thought of this before the recording here. Maybe I can look it up on the fly on stathead.com. You can do a play finder. But this will be the third time on the episode I've brought up Jaden scoring 27 points without taking a 3-point attempt.
Yeah.
I think that's incredibly rare in today's NBA. There's probably some examples of more traditional big men who maybe you're catching some lobs or whatever. Is there a game where Rudy dropped 28 points and got to the free throw line a bunch? I'm sure, but that's not what we're talking about here. This is a nuanced. Jaden has a mid-range game. Jaden can handle. And when you stash him in the corner, because that's kind of the way the roster is built, and we need you to be just kind of over here for the last few years, not only are you robbing your offense because he's not good at shooting those shots, but you're robbing your offense of this multi-layered player. I don't know. It feels like sometimes you and I have been on this island shouting no, there's a 20 points per game efficient scorer in there if you just unleash him and empower him. So long answer to first part of question, longer. I don't think what we're seeing is a fluke or a small sample size alert with either Jaden or Naz. I think we're talking about, if given the space and given the ball and the empowerment, I think we're talking about two guys who combined for 45 points a night on efficient field goal percentage, and one guy provides all-world defense on the perimeter. The other guy, Naz Reid, provides, especially in January, one of the best quick release, most accurate 3-point shots in the NBA. I don't think that's a fluke. I think they just hadn't been getting the opportunities. So that brings me to my second existential question here. If we're right, and if this is actually who Jaden McDaniels is going forward, and this is who Naz Reid is going forward, and we know Anthony Edwards, is that a championship core? Is that if those are your three most active best players, and obviously there's the DDVs and Gobert or whoever would replace him as a rim protector and the other peripheral pieces, is that a championship core at some point?
Yeah, I mean, I can already see the comments that'll follow
I know.
this take. I can already picture who is going to be in my mentions and who's going to call me.
They're going to get beat by 30 against LA tomorrow night. We're going to be damn it. Son of a.
I would just ask you, I guess, in a different way. Also, the last thing I have on Jaden, because whatever. Like, there isn't a bigger fan other than maybe his wife or his girlfriend than me of Jaden McDaniels. But he cannot, like, Naz Reid has become a revelation from three. He had that ridiculous step back over Caruso, I think, to bring the game to 9. Ant clearly is one of the best three-point shooters in the league. I still don't think Jaden McDaniels can reach the status that I think he can reach without hitting threes. Like, I'm with you that, like, 27, 10, and 4, 2 steals, 1 turnover. Hey, by the way, November 15th, 2024. Do you know what that date means? Or do you know what that signifies?
November 15th, 2024.
It was an overtime win against the Kings. I was doing a live show at Treasure Island. It's the last time, November 15th, 2024. It's the last time Jaden McDaniels fouled out of a game. Oh. He doesn't foul out anymore.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest bugaboo on his resume. It's like, man, you just can't stay on the floor.
He doesn't turn over really either. He doesn't turn over. He doesn't foul as much.
It's been over 100 days since Jaden McDaniels has fouled out. And then it's not even like close anymore. Like, you go look at his monthly box scores. It's like he's had 5 fouls, I think, once in the month of February. But he can't be, I don't think, a star until he at least is respectable from 3. I love the box score and not taking threes, 9 for 9 from free throw. But to your second, which I think is actually third existential question, I believe it, Phil. I believe, because again, going back to, like, I want this to be fun. Spoiler alert, like, I work in sports media and I like my team winning games. I think a lot more of the people you listen to do that too. Mm-hmm. What would you counter with to say, those trio can't win a title? Who would you then say can? Like, when you look around the league, because obviously the Boston Celtics thing is its own thing, right? Like, with Tatum and Brown and whoever third banana, they've done it. But, like, I don't know, the Thunder have an interesting fan base who think they've probably done more than they've done. But, like, they haven't done anything yet, right? I mean, they're great.
Like, the Wolves are first. I know the record-wise right now, obviously OKC is the 1 seed. But, like, franchise achievement in the last 3-year window, the Wolves are further ahead of the Thunder.
And if the Thunder make the finals, or they win the finals, they will be the gold standard for the league, and everyone will try to copy them. But I just want to, like, this is kind of how I feel about Cat and the Knicks. Can I see it? Can I see it? Can I see the Knicks make an Eastern Conference Finals run with Karl at the 5? Can I see the Thunder not kind of piss the game away down their leg like they did against the Mavs? Those duos and trios haven't really done anything either. So it's maybe not the best bet, but it's a bet that I'd want to make, that you have a player who at 23, by all accounts, is a top 10 player in the league. And you got these other 2 guys who not only are coming into their own and developing and year after year are stacking things. Finch loves talking about stacking skills. But they also really complement, like the Brown and Tatum thing, you could at least argue like 1% that they kind of do the same thing at times. I mean, they're both just elite wing defenders, and they're so good. That duo is the best in the league. But Jaden and Naz really complement Ant, right? The fact that Jaden can't shoot threes is kind of buoyed by the fact that Naz is now one of the best three-point shooting bigs in the league. So the Kevin Durant stuff, I don't know why I keep bringing this up, but it just keeps scaring me as I watch that Suns team led by Kevin Durant flounder and just bleep the bed. It's like, if you're going to go get Kevin Durant this summer and you're going to have, like, you know, new owner syndrome, even though we're 4 years into this new ownership group, just don't break up this trio. Because not only do they love working, like, playing together on the court, but by all means, they love hanging out together off the court. They're like the 3 amigos. And I don't know why you would want to damage that for short-term possible gains when this might be the best trio, maybe, you've ever had, right? And again, Garnett, Sprewell, and Cassell was like the one that went the furthest or semi the first. Like, this might be the best. What's the best
1-year trio for sure? That's number one. That's a great talker. I'm gonna mark that down.
Write that down.
So we need to do updated leadership power rankings and best trios in Wolves history.
Mark these. Let's I have Basketball Reference up. Should we go to the 2013-14? Do you think it was Gorgie Jang, Kevin Love, and Kevin Martin? Because it
was definitely at one point. It was Rubio, Love, and
Derek Williams.
I
mean, I still think Derek Williams has a chance. Derek, if you're listening, he's only born in 91. But that's just, you know, it's something to think about. That this trio, and I think Dante really should fall into that that group, even though he's a little older, because he's signed. Another thing, hey, how much fun did you have on Monday? Existential questions. Are the Wolves the greatest thing of all time? Phil, I'm going to be super sad this summer. I won't cry on a podcast because I know that doesn't do well, but it's not really if to me almost. It's like when they lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that's going to suck, man. He is awesome. He's probably not more valuable than Naz Reid. We all love Naz Reid, 2 words in the towels. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, when we do the updated top 100 list, I mean, he just has to fly up to like low bar, but like top 20. He is so good. He was so good in that game. And if they don't re-sign him this summer, Jaylen Clark obviously would fill that role kind of, but it's imperative that they not only keep Naz, but also Nickeil. So that makes for a really interesting summer. I just had to say that because Nikhil's awesome.
Yeah. What's tight is like, you know, you're hoping to, in one way or another, get rid of the Julius Randle contract, which would get you way. Like you're entering the offseason under the second apron, actually under the first apron. So you get the restrictions get lifted and you can make some stuff happen. But the better and the more Naz Reid continues to play, the further away from the $25 million benchmark. Well, okay, Jaden got a $25 million deal. Maybe that's the starting point for Naz. Well, with the cap going up, with Naz Reid playing his ass off, it's like the mountain climber guy on Price is Right. I mean, it's like, is it 30? Is it 35? So there's a whole conversation there. Before we get to random Wolf of the Week here, I did find on StatHead there have been 33 occurrences across the NBA this year of a player scoring 27 points in a game like Jaden did the other night without shooting a three-pointer. Giannis and Zion make up half of them or more. You think, I mean, Giannis is, because Giannis has kind of just given up on, he remember a couple years ago, he was like, I'm going to make this a thing. I'm going to be a three-point shooter. And now he's like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to keep doing my Giannis thing. Anthony Davis, there's a bunch of like, Anthony Davis has 2. There's a bunch of other big men like lob merchants. Daniel Gafford has a couple for the Mavericks, and Mark Williams with Charlotte. Jokic has one. Jimmy Butler has one, which makes sense because he'll shoot threes sometimes, but if he's not feeling it, he won't. And then Jared Allen with Cleveland, but it's basically reserved for Giannis and Zion Williamson and lob merchants who are just cleaning up around the glass. It's very, very rare for wing players to be putting up 27 points without shooting a 3 in today's NBA. So credit to Jaden.
The Jimmy Butler one is kind of an outlier to me, but in Miami, there's a lot of times where they would downsize and he would play the 4 alongside Bam. But what that told me basically is that all those guys that did it are like 4s or 5s, and that Jaden might have just been misclassed by all of us, my hand included, of like, maybe he's just not a small forward. Because the Giannis one is interesting. I mean, we are not comparing Jaden McDaniels to Giannis, but
not yet. We'll give it a couple more games.
The way that like Jaden gets to his spots is kind of Giannis-like in terms of that slow, methodical kind of Euro step. I'm always frightened that Jaden's going to catch someone with an elbow, and he's going to one of these days. But again, like I bring up my dad from time. My dad's comp a little bit watching Jaden these last couple weeks, the last couple of months, especially after not taking threes, was like a 2 inches shorter Kevin Garnett, which again, we can't make fun of dads that are older than 70. So dad, I like that one, but it's like, he's just kind of a mid-range merchant around the rim. He's also, I still think, maybe their best rim protector in times. And again, he just complements, he doesn't need the ball when Ant's out there because you know Ant, for better or worse, is going to take those shots and have a high usage. But what was the most impressive to me, to kind of put a bow on what was a really fun Thunder win and comeback, is that when he was out there in that lineup, I think it was like Rob and Na and Terrence and maybe Naz and Jaden, or flip Naz and Jaylen Clark, he looked around and realized, I kind of have to be the guy. And I've always talked about this with the Hornets, that like if Jaden McDaniels was on the Hornets, he would have a vastly different career. Probably not as many wins, but he would have a bigger game and a bigger bag. And for him to look around and be like, I got to get to the free throw line. I got to get to the mid-range. I have to get a bucket here because I'm playing with younger guys that might not have a spot. Jaden McDaniels has spots. And for him to finally show that was incredible. And again, it's going to not be as fun to think about in hindsight and remember if you walk into crypto tomorrow and get spanked by 25 by Luka Doncic, who seems really pissed off.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because they played last night, so they have a day off, right? Lakers. It's kind of actually a brutal schedule stretch for them with a bunch.
They should
of games.
run him out of the gym. Like really, like you watch the Lakers team, they're still very slow and methodical. LeBron, what do you say about LeBron anymore? He's 40 years old, playing like he's 26. But
get to the rack against that team. That's literally. I want the Wolves to shoot 30 or fewer threes in that game.
Yeah,
just
because
go pound them at the rim.
They do not, and this team look a lot different when they don't have to play against a Jared Allen type 5. The Lakers do not have that. Like Jackson Hayes is not good at basketball. They should live at the rim. They should be able to just throw a ton of different bodies at Luka. And they're kind of well rested. I mean, they're on this weird like 10-game stretch where it's like a 10-game road trip, but a couple of them are back home, but they're like one-offs. So I think they're well rested. They're enjoying the sun out here on the West Coast. They're all hanging out with our guy, Colin Cowherd, the other day. I was talking to Horton.
Finchy in the herd. Yeah.
Watching Chris Finch do the herd with Colin Cowherd made me think that if Finch ever doesn't last here, he might just pivot into like doing media. He
did confirm. He confirmed that he did call that ref a bozo. By the way, the ejection from a couple weeks ago. So yeah, okay. So for future episodes, Phil Kyle notes, leadership power rankings, best trios in Wolves history. And we definitely, the last time we updated the top 100 Wolves of all time was right before the season, like October or whatever, early November of last year. So, all right, we're going to get our guy Ross in here in just a moment. Tomorrow, I have a dentist appointment. And you know what? Kind of looking forward to it because Park Dental is a great place to get your teeth cleaned. They saved me when I was without a dentist. My old dentist retired. I was wandering around for like a year and a half. Who's going to clean my teeth? And make sure I'm doing all the right things. And Park Dental has over 50 years of experience caring for and cleaning teeth in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. And chances are, wherever you work or live in the Twin Cities metro area, there is a Park Dental somewhere very close by. Many of the practices open at 7 a.m. too, in case you can't, find that hour and a half to sneak away from work, or you don't want to take a half day off, whatever it is. So yeah, check them out. Schedule your checkup at parkdental.com. Parkdental.com. Also, a shout out to Federated Mutual Insurance Company for powering Flagrant Howls this season. So if you're a business owner, whether you're in the state of Minnesota or in any of the other 49 states, Federated can help you. They help you elevate your business through risk management. So they focus on safety, preventing claims, and risk management so you can stay focused on running your business and making money for your business, keeping everyone happy that works for you. Find out more at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, producer extraordinaire Ross Brendel in the house.
Bones Brendel, what's up, Bones?
Still supporting the Golden Gophers basketball team after these last two?
We're supporting the Gopher women's basketball team in their effort to make the NCAA tournament.
Let's go. Yeah, the men kind of pissed down their leg. So Ross is going to lead us through our weekly random wolf of the week here, where in year 2 we are tied at 5 apiece. Last week it was Gary Trent that Kyle correctly guessed. Before that it was a 3-game winning streak for me, Anthony Peeler, Nikola Skidishvili, and Jared Vanderbilt. Christian Leitner was before that. All time Kyle with 27 correct guesses. I have 17. And we're ready to rock and roll here, Ross.
I am also terrible with remembering names, but I do want to thank the younger gentleman and the slightly older gentleman than the younger gentleman who came up to me at the golf show and talked about how much they love Random Wolf of the Week. Both were in awe of your guys' ability to get these wolves.
I think there was also
Good job, boys.
I think there are some people involved in the recent Timberwolves arbitration situation that also love Random Wolf of the Week. So
didn't know Glenn Taylor was a big fan of Random Wolf of the Week.
Hey, when you're sitting in bed watching because of your hip injury, like, what else are you gonna watch? So a lot of people love this segment, and it's all because I think of you, Ross. So
just binging Flagrant Howls.
We should do a cut up. This would be way too much work for Ross, but cut out all the Random Wolves of the Week in history and just put them on a playlist so people can sit there. But yeah, that's probably a project.
Really, shout out to my guy Brad in Australia. You know who you are. The Australians loved the Shane Heal episode. Not just a Random Wolf, but when we had Shane Heal on, again, I don't know what happened since then. But yeah, we got to get more of these Random Wolves on, Ross. You and I will work on this.
Yeah, well, you and I will get together. We'll start reaching out to people on LinkedIn like you already did with somebody.
Still waiting.
And then
Waiting for that approval.
The X machine will typically help because once people, if they don't know the pod, they probably do. But if they don't, once you YouTube it, they know it's not some 2-bit operation. So I think they'll, I think we can convince them.
I mean, it is a 2-bit operation.
Well,
but,
okay, it is. But we mask it well. Also, apologies, boys. I am definitely starting to get sick. So I'm glad we're all in different locations. And I'm dealing with a personal injury of some sort. So I'm just a mash unit for this random wolf.
Hopefully you can get us through at least the heat check here before you pass out.
Yes. Yeah. I do have AJ. AJ is waiting to check in at the scores table if need be. Are you boys ready?
So Ross is going to, Ross, you'll throw out some clues. We each get a heat check guess right off the top after the first clue. And then after that, it's 3 incorrect guesses. If one of us does hit that third, which does happen, the other one wins automatically. No Googling. Here we go.
I also, for the record, do want to point out, I am getting sick, and I also still invited Phil to go to hang out with me tonight. So
yeah, what the hell?
Yeah,
that was a half hour ago.
See, but that's how dedicated I am to my Gophers. I will forge through feeling under the weather. Okay, here we go. This random wolf of the week played for 6 NBA franchises. 6 NBA franchises, which that tells me what? That's about 20% of the league.
Oh, you still got your fastball. That's close.
Trying to math that. Game. Is this one of those classic Ross clues where it's a swerve? It's like he played for 6 NBA franchises, and then later you're like, and 3 more. It was actually 9 NBA franchises.
No, I'm not with it enough to do that to you boys today.
Anthony Tolliver.
Who goes first? Anthony Tolliver. I like that guess. Not correct, but I do like that guess.
Well, you said past tense. I was gonna guess Rocco. Have we done Corey Brewer yet? Corey Brewer.
That is incorrect. I also don't know if anybody has guessed Corey Brewer.
I should have Control F searched that one, but that's okay.
Well, Corey Brewer we
did do Corey Brewer. It was like the 10th ever random wolf.
Did we really? Okay, good. Yeah, it's on my. Look at. We've done so many now on this backside here. Look at how tiny the print is getting, so I can keep track. It's like 5-point font. Okay. Here we go. Number 2. This random wolf of the week was drafted by the Knicks, but immediately traded to the Celtics. So 6 NBA franchises drafted by one historic franchise, traded to another.
I'm so greedy this week. I'm going to guess again. This is my first official guess.
Wow.
Is it Gerald Green?
It is not Gerald Green.
Okay. I love Kyle's chucking right now, dude. Kyle's chucking. All right. Is it Mark Blunt?
Are you guessing right away, too? It is not Mark Blunt. Wow, look at you boys.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Let's get it.
Here we go. This random wolf of the week appeared in just over 200 career NBA games.
Wow.
So now start doing the math. Played for 6 teams. Only played in just over 200 career games. It's a lot of moving around.
I still think it's Gerald Green, but
guess again. If you guess the same player twice on the same edition, does that count as 2 strikes? Or
we're gonna have to meet as a committee to discuss that. I would say if you forgot you already guessed somebody and guessed them again, I think that's 2 guesses.
I would say there is a chance that a player who played on 6 teams in only 200 career games could still be one of the top 100 Timberwolves of all time.
100%. We should go look at that list when you guys do it next. You should start tallying how many teams some of these guys have played for. I think that's the next one for you. Yeah. This random wolf of the week, boys, believe it or not, you probably would believe it, never scored more than 13 points in an NBA game.
Boy, well, this is going to be... Oh, boy.
This random wolf of the week averaged just 2.7 points per game over his NBA career.
This is one of those ones where we're going to need initials.
I'm not sure. This might be a clue here, but I'm not sure you're going to need the initials once we turn the corner. So there you go. There's your unofficial clue. This random wolf of the week was a first-round pick in the NBA draft. This random wolf of the week's last name, although common enough, has only been used by one other player in Wolves history.
That's such a good clue. It does nothing for me,
Wow,
but it's
dude.
just Ross. You're the best.
So it's kind of a common name, but not really.
Samsonite. That's it.
It's a common name.
Johnson.
Just maybe. Yeah, your head is in the right place, Phil. This random Wolf of the Week was the top rebounder in the Israeli Basketball Premier League during the 2009-2010 season.
Is it Omri Caspi?
Is that a guess?
Yeah.
Didn't we already use him?
We already did Omri
Okay,
Caspi.
that's fine. That's
you
fine.
correctly guessed him on a previous edition. Let's not ding Kyle for that guess. So he could rebound a little bit.
Okay. All right. This random Wolf of the Week last played professional basketball in 2012.
Boy, this is...
There's not a lot to work with here yet, is there?
No.
Here we go.
Oh.
This.
Okay. No, I think give us one more clue.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
This random Wolf of the Week is a product of the Big Ten basketball conference.
That doesn't do anything. I already have one incorrect. I do have a guess loaded up here, but I think he was more of like a... Oh, wait, was it that guy?
Who was that guy, Phil?
Yeah, who was that guy?
I'll wait for one more clue because I don't want to. Then if I miss, I'm on my last guess, and I don't think Kyle's gonna get it. Look at him; he's confused. He has no idea what's happening right now.
This random Wolf of the Week wore maroon and gold in high school.
Okay. All right, buddy.
All right, let's go.
You're feeling yourself now.
This random Wolf of the Week also wore maroon and gold in college.
Quincy Lewis.
It's not Quincy Lewis.
Oh! Okay.
This random Wolf of the Week twice played for his hometown team.
I have two other guesses lined up in my head right now. Oh man, this is so tough.
Should I move on?
Clue number 64.
Clue number 14. This random Wolf of the Week once appeared in the Final Four. However, you'll find no official record keeping corroborating this clue.
Is it? No, dude.
Just fire it, Phil.
No.
I still think it's
no,
Joe.
because he went to lead it in rebounding
in the Israeli league.
Oh my God.
This random Wolf of the Week shares.
No.
You can't stop the
John Thomas.
It is John Thomas. Well done.
Oh man. Oh, and he spent a much longer time working for the Wolves front office, community relations, etc., than actually playing for. He was a Knick, but he went back. He played for the Knicks, I thought, at some point, didn't he?
I'd have to pull his clues or his page back up, but yeah, he was a hilarious one to put together. That was fun.
John Thomas back in 2002, 2003 played for my Dakota Wizards.
Wow.
Based out, I think, in maybe Bismarck. Yeah, Bismarck, North Dakota. Shout out.
Awesome.
John Thomas, good
Love
guy.
me some John
good guy.
Thomas,
Good.
man.
That was a tough one. That might have been the most random.
Phil takes the lead again, and at this point, boys, I'm just going to use this soapbox for my 30-second plea. Mark Coyle, I know you're a fan of Flagrant Howls. Put the damn banners back up. They're not going to do anything about it. You went to the Final Four.
Dude,
hang those suckers up.
It's so funny that
North Carolina was faking that kids were going to class, and they self-reported it, and nothing happened.
Dude, Louisville had a prostitution ring for like 10 years. And we had a couple papers being written. You know, come on, hang that banner back up.
Hang the banners.
Anyways, good
boys,
job there, Ross.
Stick to sports, Ross. Chill.
Stick to Theraflu. All right. I retake the lead 6-5 in Random Wolf of the Week. Okay, Kyle, enjoy the Wolves getting beat by 28 points tomorrow night because we just jinxed everything. And remember, everyone, this is your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast. Click that like button, the subscribe button on the Score North YouTube channel. And if you could help us out by giving us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple and Spotify. And you can find more of Kyle on the Day More NBA podcast. See you guys.